I think we're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome to part 2 of our panel discussion on academics. Again, I'm Victoria Martinson. I'm the Senior Director of Parent Relations here at Pitzer College, and I'm joined here today with my colleague Brandon Kyle. And we're going to talk about academics this afternoon, and I'll just ask each of our panelists if you could briefly introduce yourselves.
Hi, my name is Tricia Morgan. I'm the Assistant Director for the Community Engagement Center here at Pitzer. I'm also the Student Liaison and the Project Pericles Debating for Democracy Coordinator, and I'm also a Pitzer alum of 2008.
My name is Linus Yamane. I'm a professor of economics here at Pitzer. I've been here about 29 years. I'm now Director of Academic Advising and I'm here to help answer any of your questions.
Hello, my name is Michael Bala. I'm Associate Vice President for International Programs.
I'm Nigel Boyle. As I told you a little while ago, I've just become the Dean of Faculty here, but I'm actually on this panel because when Victoria invited me, I was still Director of the Institute for Global Local Action and Study. So that's actually what I'm going to be talking about.
Okay, great. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Each one of our panelists has a presentation, and then we'll save questions and answers for the end. So, Tricia, if you could begin.
So thank you all for coming and being here to listen to us today. As I said, I'm the Assistant Director for the Community Engagement Center here at Pitzer College. Pitzer has a social responsibility graduation requirement at Pitzer, so it's very important for us that social justice is at the forefront of what we do when we're working with our students as they're learning and becoming scholars. A particular focus of my office is to produce what I call activist scholars, so people who take this wonderful opportunity that they have to receive this education, one of the best educations they can get in the country, and then they can apply that to become civically minded individuals. So whether our students go on to work in education, law, medicine, any number of fields that they're interested in pursuing, they use their education here to come and work in internship opportunities with my office, where they can go out and apply experiential learning and learn more, not just the social justice theory that they can learn in textbooks and from their classes and their wonderful professors that they have here at Pitzer, but they also learn from wonderful funds of knowledge that we have in our local communities and even global communities, as you'll hear when my other panelists speak. But my focus at the Community Engagement Center is on local internship opportunities for students. So students come to us to receive internships in the community, working with the local nonprofits, a number of them, or educational placements. So 5 of the main core partnerships that we have in our office, where we have staff members that facilitate work and student guidance and learning throughout their experiences in the community, are Prototypes, which is a women's recovery center. It's a very unique, wonderful place, and it was one of the first places in the country that allowed women to receive rehabilitative care or alternative sentencing to criminal as an alternative to being incarcerated, while they could then keep their children in their custody. Our students do a variety of activities there. One of the biggest activities that we do there is working on a pipeline to college type of program, a college access program, to make sure that the women have access to pursuing higher education, how to find out they can get financial aid. These are things that are going to then change their lives for the better and the lives of their family as well. We also have a partnership with a juvenile incarceration camp, Camp Athelbaugh Page, which houses young men who are 13 to 17, and we do spoken word, written expression, empowerment type of programming there with the young men so that they can learn how to express themselves in positive ways and how to disrupt the reproduction of inequality that's happening in our communities. We also work with Pomona Economic Opportunity Center, which is a day labor center locally in Pomona that was co-founded by a Pitzer alum who was the first director there, and also Professor Jose Calderon, who's worked here at Pitzer for many years. We do a lot of work with the day laborers there, a lot of community organizing, grassroots campaigns, access to health care, making sure that people are understanding what their rights are. So we do a lot of work also with English, teaching ESL, basically trying to do whatever we can to use the resources and the knowledge we have here on campus to benefit and leverage that for our community partners, because we recognize that we're all part of a very interconnected world here at Pitzer, and that's very much part of the mission of this college. My office can also help provide really practical support as well. So in addition to helping guide their learning and understanding around these topics and how they engage with communities, we also help them get, mileage reimbursement so they can get to and from places. If they have to get fingerprinted or a TB test, we help pay for all of those things. So we also provide a number of trainings, field trips, other opportunities for students, and quite honestly, the research indicates that's done by California Campus Compact, of which Pitzer College is a part of, that community engagement work is something that integrates students into their college experience. So this is something that's incredibly, incredibly important, especially for non-traditional students, particularly low-income students, first-generation students, students of color, students who may have a difficult time adjusting to their life on campus. And this is something where they get integrated, and I can't tell you how many students that come to our office that we have relationships with who say that this is the reason why they, stayed and why they made it at Pitzer College and why they went to law school afterwards, or why they went on to doing whatever it is that they're doing. So what we're doing here is we're trying to inform students so that they can engage in a transformative process where they can become leaders in a very connected local and global world. You know what, I'm going to go ahead and skip the video for now because I think that I went a little bit long, but I'm happy to answer any questions also as soon as we're finished here during the Q&A section. I think, yeah.
Okay. I'm going to start this. Okay, so my name is Linus Yamane, and I'm the Director of Academic Advising. And I know as you drop your students off with us today, you're thinking about their lives for the next 4 years, and I thought I'd give you a sense of what they may be doing over the next few years. They'll be taking a lot of courses. Our students take about 8,000 courses every year. And so what kind of classes will they be taking? They're going to be taking a lot of psychology classes, a lot of political studies, a lot of economics, math, sociology. Those are the most popular classes that our students are taking these days. Most of those classes will be here at Pitzer, though, of course, they go to the other 5 colleges here in Claremont. Our students take a lot of music, dance, and computer science classes. Those are the classes that we don't offer here at Pitzer, but they get plenty of them at the other 5C colleges. What are they going to major in? Our top majors at the moment, number 1 is environmental analysis and media studies, then psychology, sociology, and economics. More and more of our students are double majoring. They're also minoring in lots of fields, and our top minors are Spanish and studio art. Where else? Where are they taking their classes? We have, because of the 5-college system, most of the classes will be here at Pitzer, but our students take plenty of classes at Scripps, Harvey Mudd, Pomona, and also at Keck. And so the enrollment at Keck for all our science classes has doubled in the last decade. Right? Our classes are pretty small. The average class size is about 17. Last year, the largest class we had I think, 43 students. But of course, it varies by field. So in English, the average class size is just 13.3. Okay, and of course, no one else. Like Lake Wobegon, our students are all above average, and they do very well here. So average grades are. Most of the grades that they'll receive will be A's here, just like all the other top liberal arts colleges in the country. If you have any questions, you should certainly feel free to contact me. I think I'm the only Linus around on campus. If you Google Pitzer and Linus, you'll find me. I don't even charge 5 cents like my sister. And so this is my number, and feel free to email me, call me if you have any questions.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't get the tie memo this morning. Usually I have about 10 ties in the back of my office door for foreign delegates and Claremont McKenna visitors, but you're Pitzer people, so I'm in good hands. Given I've only got 10 minutes or maybe less, I'm not going to give you a general introduction to study abroad at Pitzer College, so this will be a lot more condensed than anything your sons and daughters are going to hear in the coming years. Rather, I thought I would focus a little bit on two elements that I think make Pitzer somewhat unique. The first one, which is somewhat unique for a liberal arts college, and if you look at most universities and colleges in this country, there's a very sharp bifurcation between study abroad and international students. They're usually run out of completely different divisions or departments. Pitzer is somewhat unique in fusing those two. So my office oversees both the intricacies of study abroad, but also significantly the international student population, which is a large one at Pitzer and a rapidly growing one. I was at an academic advising session yesterday for new international students, of which there are many on campus. And it was a 5C event, and I was really struck by the level of diversity of the Pitzer international students, not simply coming from East Asia and South Asia, but coming from Nepal, from Rwanda, Democratic Republic of the Congo, Ecuador, Zimbabwe. I mean, a level of diversity which I think is a great credit to our colleagues in the Office of Admissions, but certainly something I think Pitzer's particularly focused on building. And so we have, I think, a very proud tradition of oversight and development of international student programming here at Pitzer College, which is often less focus on when I think it's a lot sexier topic to focus on the glories of studying abroad, which is not to mean that I don't minimize it. And in that regard also, Pitzer truly is unique insofar as Pitzer is one of a handful of liberal arts colleges in the country that actually runs its own programs abroad. We have faculty and staff in various sites abroad who are delivering a curriculum that ties back in with Pitzer College, and they're reporting directly back to Claremont. So as against the vast majority of colleges, including our sister colleges here in Claremont, are sending students on many wonderful programs, but they're all third-party programs. And so Pitzer has had an extraordinary tradition in this regard since the 70s of developing these homegrown programs with a particular focus which parallels the CEC of community engagement, of intensive language acquisition to really engage the students in local communities. So it's not a case of simply studying abroad in a different university. In many cases, there's little or no university involvement whatsoever. It's primarily through our own faculty and through internships and engagement. I'm not going to list all these for you. I wanted to talk a little bit more about the 5 programs that we oversee. I think my good colleague and dean and I are somewhat perturbed that you'll notice that there isn't between Hungary and Israel a study abroad program in Ireland, but it'll probably happen. Anyhow, I just wanted to briefly give you a sense of where our programs are. And again, this is somewhat unique because I think traditionally in the 70s, when study abroad started to grow, there was a focus on study abroad as almost a quasi-finishing program in Rome, Paris, or Milan. And I don't mean to be, but certainly Pitzer has focused on far more non-traditional sites around the world, with certainly an emphasis not on the American abroad, but on really engaging with that community. Our oldest and most prominent program is in Nepal. This is the city of Bhaktapur, which was sadly devastated in the recent earthquake, as was sadly one of the villages where our students were living at the time. Fortunately, no one was hurt, and we are very happy to say that all our students got back to California safely after this devastating earthquake. But one of our roles in the next year is rebuilding the program in terms of giving support to our host families who are co-educators in rebuilding their homes, most of which were destroyed. we have a program. Anyone know where this is? I should do a geography quiz. Not Nepal. Anyone? Quick guesses? Close. It's certainly a Latino city. This is Quito. Who, if anyone has not been there, one of the most stunning cities in the Americas. It has, I think, the largest preserved colonial city in the world, or in the American continent, and a truly stunning city. Our students spend a lot of their time there. They also spend up to 3 weeks in a Quechua community and a native community about 2 hours outside of Quito. This is a bit harder. Anyone know where this might be? This could be anywhere, right? There's Ireland, yeah. South Coast. You can see the lumps of ice floating behind the swimmers. This is, well, there is a bit of poetic license here. This is Costa Rica, and it is what you can see from our field station, but our field station actually does not go all the way down to the sea. So there's a bit of, it's a really good telephoto zoom lens. It's accessible, but we are not right on the beach. But in Costa Rica, we were bequeathed a field station. So we actually have a biological field station on the the southwest Pacific coast of Costa Rica. And 2 more to go. Any guesses where this might be? Italy, you are correct. This is Parma. Again, we deliberately avoided citing a program in Rome or Milan. Not that they aren't stunning, extraordinary cities, but they are very much tourist international cities. Parma is a little-known gem. If you ever go to Italy, A, it has the best food in the country by far, but B, is a staggeringly beautiful city, which is very under-touristed. I don't know why. And so our students have been there for decades now and get a kind of language acquisition that they could never do in Rome or Venice, given the internationalization. And one more here. India? No. No. If you look at the tusk, you know you're on the wrong continent. This is close to Zimbabwe. This is Botswana. We used, in fact, to be in Zimbabwe. For many decades, we had an extraordinary program in Zimbabwe, but sadly, when the Mugabe regime became more and more crazy, I think my Zimbabwean colleague would agree, we literally trucked the program south into Botswana. Having said that, a new thing which you're actually beginning this semester, we are actually returning to Zimbabwe, not permanently, but as part of a study trip, so that students can see and also to Soweto in South Africa, so students have a better sense of sub-Saharan comparative studies through markedly different countries. So we are hoping, with the support of the Dean, who's been very influential in this, to develop 2 other programs, which I won't go into detail today, but one in Bahia in Brazil, and one in Hue, the ancient capital of Vietnam, where I lived for many years. So I'm very excited about that possibility. So thank you very much. Pass you on to Dean.
I'd like to thank my fellow Irishman, Michael Balla here. People get us confused all the time. He's Michael, I'm Nigel. He's the Irish guy with the Irish accent, but he's Protestant. And I'm the Irish Catholic guy with an English accent, so it gets a little complicated. Anyway, as I said, I'm going to be talking about the role that I'm just vacating as director of the Institute for Global Local Action and Study. And it's actually appropriate that I should follow my 3 colleagues here, because to some extent what this initiative, which we launched 3 years ago, is intended to do is to build precisely on what each of my 3 co-panelists here represents. And so what I'll do is sort of describe that a little and then say exactly what this will mean for your daughters and sons this first year at Pitzer. So regarding the Institute for Global Local Action and Study, there's sort of 3 key aspects to it that I'd mentioned to you. Firstly, it's designed to build on what are 2 established strengths of Pitzer College. study abroad, represented here by Michael Bala, and community engagement, represented by Tricia. These are two areas where Pitzer is a leader nationally. More of our students are getting involved, and they're getting involved more deeply in community-engaged work than is true in other colleges. And I'll embarrass Michael here by saying I think we've got the best damn study abroad program in the country here at Pitzer. But we're not satisfied with that. What we wanted to do was to integrate these and to actually build connections between them so that our students are not just doing really cool things locally with local community organizations, the Day Laborers Center, working in local prisons, whatever the case may be, but they're also doing that when they go abroad to Nepal or wherever else they might go, and that they're actually connecting these different elements. And that's the key sort of idea with Eyeglass, is connecting these two areas so that our students can start something locally here, perhaps in their first year, and then when they go abroad, they can continue that and then bring it back, and this becomes a strand through their education. That's the sort of first feature that's important for this Institute for Global Local Action and Study. The second theme is that it's not about working directly with students, it's about working through faculty. And what we've zeroed in on is faculty mentorship. So Linus is here talking about, is the director of advising here. We're really focusing on the role of our faculty, not just as teachers of classes, but as mentors to the students, mentoring our students into opportunities. So it's not just about picking classes, and I tried to say that to your students this morning as well. Meeting with your advisors, it's not just about picking classes. It's about figuring out all of the other opportunities, having your advisor figure you out, and developing a plan that you can really then carry forward over the course of your education here. The third feature I've mentioned about the Institute for Global Local Action and Study is that there is a sort of pedagogical idea here, that we're not just focusing on the cognitive, the intellectual aspects of it. We're also interested in students' psychosocial development. Viscerally, the affective side. It's not just what they know and the disciplines that Linus was talking about there, the sort of intellectual apparatuses that they bring as a physicist, as a biologist, as an economist, and so forth. We're also interested in the meaning that they find and what motivates them, and finding a purpose. So we're interested, pedagogically, we're interested in both of these, and we want our faculty to be focused on this. So that's what our Eyeglass is about. Eyeglass has been involved in various initiatives. I think I mentioned at the lunch session about the prison education stuff we're doing, and I'd love to talk about that. In fact, I won't, because if I start talking about prisons, I just can't stop. But I will talk about an initiative that your students will encounter. And in fact, this is the first class where the entire class, the entire freshman class, is going to be participating in this thing called the Global Local Mentorship Project. We've done it for the last 2 years with parts of each of the last two classes, but building on that, we're going to apply this now right across the board. The goal of the Global Local Mentorship Project is to fast-track students into study abroad, into community engagement, and also into early declaration of major. We want them to figure things out earlier in their careers than they might otherwise do, and get them on track earlier. That's the sort of basic goal of this project. And if I had time to put together some slides, but I've had rather a busy week and didn't get around to it, but if I had time to put up some of my data slides here, we're relying on some interesting data here that we have about our own students. One very interesting piece of data is that students who study abroad before the junior year, have a markedly different set of outcomes. The national measure in terms of graduation is a 6-year measure, which is to say the proportion of students who graduate within 6 years of starting at a college or university. Pitzer has a very high rate, but for students who study abroad before the junior year, it's almost 100%. If students go abroad in their sophomore year, they're going to finish in 4 years. It's almost a done deal. That's one very interesting. I can see that caught your attention. The other thing is I've been the Fulbright advisor for the last few years as well, and we've done some analysis on this, and I figured after doing all this Fulbright stuff, I kind of knew this stuff inside out, but our data people actually did some detailed analysis on this, and there was one spectacular finding that popped up, which I wasn't really aware of, which is to say there's an astronomically high rate of students who study abroad twice who win Fulbrights. that if they go twice to different places, there's just this amazing statistical connection here. So there seems to be something interesting on here. So again, this project is designed to get students thinking about this stuff early and then to get them on track earlier in their academic careers than might otherwise be the case. So what's this project that your students now will encounter during the first year? Well, for a start, and this is the first time we've done it, the advisors that your students have are also their first-year seminar instructors. So in the past, we tended to try and figure out what disciplines students are interested in, and if they showed an interest in science, we give them a science advisor. But that's actually, in my view, not a very good way to go about it. Firstly, students don't really know what they're doing. And in any case, I think it is a liberal arts college. Students should get broadly exposed. We shouldn't try and track them too early into a particular major. So what we've done now is that each faculty member is teaching a class, first-year seminar class of 14 students. All of those students are their advisees, and they will be for the next 2 years. All of these faculty are going to be here for the next 2 years. They're not going on sabbatical or other leaves like that. So the advisor is going to be there for 2 years, and they have a specific mission to mentor these students, and in particular to get them started early in connection with study abroad and community engagement. So during their first semester, in connection with their first-year seminars, they're going to get some early exposure regarding both study abroad and community engagement. And then in spring semester, the spring semester of their freshman year, we're going to encourage large numbers of them to participate in what we call action research teams. These are going to be student-initiated projects where they will put together a project of their own making. They'll get a little budget, and working with the Community Engagement Center, they'll carry out that project in connection with a local community organization that we have connections with through the CEC, through Trisha's center. So they'll have the opportunity to do this in spring semester. The other thing, and this may really catch your attention, is that we want to send approximately 50 of your kids abroad for a short-term study tour during the spring semester, either at spring break or at the end of the semester. And here's the thing that will make you really happy. It won't cost you a damn penny. What we're going to do, there's going to be 4 of these study tours. 2 of them during the March spring break, 2 of them immediately following the spring semester. And some of the faculty advisors who have been teaching your students in first-year seminars, they will accompany groups of students. So it'll be a group of approximately 10 to 15 students, approximately 4 to 6 faculty in each of these groups. The first, one of these will go to Bahia in Brazil and do a 10-day program focused on Afro-Brazilian culture. A second group are going to go to the Northwest to live with and study Coast Salish peoples on both the Canadian and US side of the border, and Vancouver Island and in Washington State. That will be in March. A third group is going to, as Michael referenced there a little earlier, is going to go to Southern Africa and undertake a 12-day study tour of Botswana, but also, as Michael was mentioning, visiting Zimbabwe and South Africa. The fourth group in March is going to be involved in a 9-day study tour focused on farm labor or farm worker organizing here in California with the UFW, but also across the border in Baja, where there's been major organization of farm workers taking place. So these 4 study tours will be, all your students will be told about them, encouraged to apply to participate in these, and again, we hope a good 50 of them or so will participate in these. And again, the idea here is to give, this is kind of the hors d'oeuvre for what they will get in the rest of their education through these study abroad programs that Michael was talking about, and through the deep community engagement connections that Pitzer has locally. So that's what we're going to try and do with your students, and we hope you'll be, after 4 years, very happy with the results of this. But that's the Global Local Mentorship Project. So thank you, and I guess now we're open for questions, yes?
Hi, thanks for that presentation. This question is perhaps for Michael, but anybody could chime in. I'm curious about, right here, hi. I'm curious about the expectations for language in the study abroad program. Is it a one semester? Is it an immersion year? Are there language immersion?
Great question. It's something I didn't mention. Again, obviously, I would have gone usually in much more detail in this in an orientation program. But what also makes and again, I'm only speaking about the 5 programs rerun. Obviously, we have multiple other programs available, but we actually don't. Pitzer has traditionally not had a language requirement. In part because of necessity, we don't offer Setswana here in Claremont. We don't offer Nepali here in Claremont. So these students get off the plane not speaking a word. What is staggering, and I can attest this, I don't speak a word, or I can say namaste, but my colleague is a fluent Nepali speaker. These students are coming back after 1 semester and are speaking at an advanced level orally, because of the unbelievably intensity of the language learning. That said, the question is a good one. It really depends on the program. If you want to go and study on a certain program in Paris, you're going to need at least 4 courses of French. Other ones may be less so. Certain program in Argentina may require advanced level of Spanish. You could go on our Costa Rica program and get off the plane with none. We wouldn't recommend it, and if I'm advising a student who's interested in going to Ecuador, I would say, man, you're going to get so much more out of this if you start taking Spanish now. But it really depends on the program, and that's obviously we work one-on-one with the student. And Nigel, that the idea also is to help with this new wonderful advising program to get them thinking about that early. Sometimes they may not bring it up with their advisor until, not when it's too late, but maybe if we could get that going early, there could be different possibilities for that student.
You mentioned the seminar a number of times. Is that an ongoing academic advisory seminar that happens?
The first year seminar. So all new students will be in a first year seminar. It's the entire freshman class. It'll be a small seminar taught by a Pitzer faculty member, 14 students. So they're all going to be in these, there's 19 of them altogether that are being taught this fall semester. And it's through those 4 first year seminars that we'll be working with these students on these kinds of initiatives.
I believe I read someplace that your desire is for students to apply in November, perhaps, to be able to go overseas the following year. Are you going to be a little flexible on that date than if you were hoping to have students go in their sophomore year, or do you hope that these students are going to be applying in the next few weeks?
Again, we are always flexible is the quick answer. We certainly have deadlines for applications. Does that mean that we don't work with students who, for whatever reason, just didn't feel they were ready to think about it? Yeah, there's a lot of flexibility. The only caveat is, which sometimes happens, students, certain programs can sometimes fill the students late. They're obviously going to be on a wait list. But yeah, it's Pitzer. Most things like that are pretty flexible.
Is there a printed course catalog for Pitzer or for the consortium?
I believe they stopped it last
Yeah,
year.
it's all online now, so there's nothing printed, but it's all available online.
What's the range of academics that students will encounter in these different foreign study programs?
I think we have a philosophy of not defining a particular program for a particular discipline. So it's not a case of you're an econ major, you should go to Hong Kong. I know in meeting with the econ faculty, it's very apropos in the spring semester, I met with some of Linus couldn't make it, but I met with some of his colleagues talking about, they encourage the students to go and live in Botswana or Nepal and do something markedly different from their major. Now that's not always true. A lot of faculty, I don't mind which way faculty goes. Some faculty encourage their advisees to consider going on a particular program because it's a way to enhance their academics. Although I think I would argue that given the the variety of courses here in the consortium, you know, they're going to be hard pushed to find a more impressive level of courses here in Claremont, so they don't necessarily have to replicate that when they go abroad.
Can I follow up on that? Because I think it's an interesting question. For the program I'm talking about in terms of fast-tracking students into going on study abroad, we want this to apply right across the curriculum. So this should be as important for science majors as it is for the international relations majors. And we're deliberately working to address concerns. There are portions of the Pitzer student body that are much less inclined to go abroad than others. I'll give you three. Natural science majors, econ majors, sorry, Linus, and men. Actually, men are, to be perfectly honest, more small c conservative when it comes to planning their career. We are deliberately working on that so that we really get the entire student body. And this is included, and Michael and others have been working with some of the programs abroad, so that for a lot of science majors, for example, there's the dreaded OChem sequence that they need to do sophomore year. But we figured out ways that they can do one part of that OChem sequence while they're abroad, so that they needn't miss out on these kinds of opportunities.
I've got two questions. I'm here.
Oh, hi.
Where are they?
I understand that the 5C courses are open to Pitzer students. Are there any restrictions for any specialized programs or any of that? That's my first question. And the second is, are there any programs with partner universities within the United States itself where students can spend a semester maybe?
Sure. Well, and
The second question is so easy. I'll do that first, because I think that you're asking a bigger question of the dean and director. Yes, we have a number of collaborations with colleges on the East Coast. We work with Sarah Lawrence in New York City. We work with Haverford College. We work with some colleges in the Northwest. We work with some HBOs, like Morehouse in Atlanta and Spelman. So yes.
In terms of the intercollegiate enrollment, there isn't a straight answer to that question. For early on, students will do most of their courses here at Pitzer, but there's many areas where we have intercollegiate departments and intercollegiate programs where it doesn't matter where you take a course. So if media studies, neuropsychology, there's a whole series of courses where they'll be likely to take their courses at other colleges. But what I would say about the Claremont Consortium, out there are other consortia where students are allowed to go to other colleges. But it's usually the case that that's possible, but it's not terribly likely. But you saw from some of the data that Linus gave you there in terms of 52% of their classes being taken here at Pitzer. That means 48% of their classes mean them going someplace else. And I speak here as the parent of a Claremont student. My daughter is going to be a junior at Scripps College this year. And in each of the last 2 semesters, she's taken 4 courses at 4 different colleges in each of those semesters. And that's just normal here. And I think it's really healthy because they have the resources of all of our sister colleges there, while at the same time having this more small-scale experience here at Pitzer.
I also want to say, too, that when it comes to community engagement and social justice work, we've seen very important movements that have happened across all of our campuses where our students come together, share ideas, they work in different communities together, whether it's a partnership that is fostered through the Draper Center at Pomona College, or if it's through a partnership that's fostered through the Community Engagement Center here at Pitzer. We support financially our Pitzer students. So, if a CMC student wants to come and volunteer in one of our programs, we don't turn people away. They are welcome to come, but our primary support is for our Pitzer students for this office. And then I'll also say that my office in particular, Pitzer College is a member of Project Pericles, which is a national nonprofit that's aimed at increasing civic engagement amongst young people that are college students particularly. So it has about 30 different liberal arts colleges across the country, across the entire United States. We all get together once a year. Students do a competition, a letter writing competition for an elected official to organize around some legislative issue that can take some sort of legislative action or response. And then it's part of a big competition. They also get a trip to New York. They go have a conference at the New School. For a lot of our students, this is the very first time that they've ever had an opportunity to go to a conference like this, where they have 3 days of activities. They visit nonprofits. They listen to panel speakers. And then they have an opportunity for the top 5 letter writers, which it's co-written in a partner pair. That team gets to be part of a legislative hearing where they get to promote their issue. And they pretty much get grilled by current and former elected officials who really put them through the ringer of, have you thought through this issue? Have you done your research? Have you presented strong and clear arguments? And that's just part of the training that our students get. And one of the things that makes it such a great opportunity also is that, you know, they are meeting students who are at Berea College who have been working on mountaintop removal in the Appalachian Mountains. And they get to share those ideas and that passion and that, you know, that momentum for social movements that happens across the country. Because college students really, they're where it's at when it comes to that.
What's the difference in availability in the study abroad programs for a person who's an incoming junior? My son is a transfer student.
He's gonna probably be fast-tracked because we want to get him out there.
But other than that, it's pretty much as has been described here.
I mean, yeah, I mean, obviously, again, I didn't go into detail of all the programs as well overall. I mean, he would come and see us as soon as he probably gets on campus. I'd encourage him to do so.
Thank you.
My question is about a student who might have an interest in a field of study that perhaps isn't represented in a traditional major in the catalog. I've heard that it's possible to sort of design a hybridized major of some kind. And I wonder if somebody could just comment on how feasible that is, how often it's done, that sort of thing.
Yes, it's one of our most, we call them special majors here, and so if you have, so a lot of students are interested in urban studies, for example, or education, and those are sort of popular fields for our special majors. So I think as a group, special majors are I think the number 2 sort of category, most popular major at Pitzer now, but they're all different depending, and the student just works with 2 faculty advisors and basically develops a proposal and submits it to a curriculum committee for approval.
Can I follow up on that? So yeah, it's just 3 consenting adults, the student and 2 faculty, and they can do anything that they want. And I know there's a few folks here interested in soccer. So I was one of the faculty advisors 2 years ago for a student whose self-designed major was global and local community organizing through soccer. So I think that was the first ever soccer major in US higher education. But just a lot of the students that do a self-designed major like that, it's often their second major, so they've got kind of a recognized first major, and then this would be a second major. That's often a combination that our students put together.
Could you share with us to what extent any of the international programs you have are capacity constrained in terms of number of students?
The Nepal one always tends to be our most popular, but I think the one thing I would say, so that you're not concerned, we always prioritize Pitzer students. We do get Claremont College students and sometimes Swarthmore or whatever college wanting to apply, but I can assure you your son or daughter would get to go on a Pitzer program if he or she wanted to, assuming she hasn't burnt down a dorm or got a 1.2 GPA or whatever.
Thank you.
We have time for one more question.
Thank you. I'm just wondering, could you talk a little bit for freshmen that really don't know what they want to study, other than the freshman seminar, which sounds like a great thing? How do you help somebody like that put together their freshman year course? How do you help them put together their schedule? And in particular, are there required, I don't believe there are required classes, but if you could talk about whether there's recommended or required approaches, that would be great.
the first year seminar is the only class that you're required to take, and then the idea there is to have a very strong relationship here with the advisor, who will also be the instructor in the first year seminar. There is a lot of freedom at Pitzer, and so we put a lot of resources into making sure that your students get good advice and have a good relationship with the faculty advisor. But I certainly encourage the first year students to take a wide variety of classes. I didn't know what economics was until my sophomore year when I took an economics class. So you need to just try all these different things. And eventually maybe you'll find something that you truly love. And that didn't happen to me until I was a sophomore. But that's what I would encourage all our students to do.
I'll just add to that as an advisor. Students that don't know what major they want to do, they're no problem at all. I used to always focus on the ones that come here dead set on some damn major, and I would do all I could to sort of shake them out of that. Because this is a liberal arts college. This is you explore. There's fields that you don't even know about yet that you need to learn about. So those are the ones that I'd focus on.
Well, thank you. Again, unfortunately, we're out of time, but I'd like to thank our panelists for participating today.